Paulie Cowan, and this is Here Comes the Sun, a closer look at some of the people, places, and things we bring you every weekend on Sunday morning. Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, have been outspoken advocates for mental health awareness and education for quite a while. Their latest venture, though, is a website for parents who've lost children in ways related to social media. The project hopes to give parents a space to connect and find purpose in their pain, while highlighting the dangers of social media and bullying. Jane Pauley caught up with them in California.
We always talk about, in the olden days, if your kids were under your roof, you knew what they were up to. At least they were safe, right? And now they can be in the next door room on a tablet or on a phone and can be going down these rabbit holes. And before you know it, within 24 hours, they could be taking their life.
Later in the show, Meghan Markle on the bravery of sharing personal stories.
When you were in danger and severely depressed, at the time I think you were pregnant with Archie.
That's right.
The wrong time to be severely depressed, if there was the right time, but you told the audience that you needed to tell your husband, Harry, because if you didn't, you were afraid you would do it. And yet you were reluctant to tell your husband because you didn't know how he would react. And how did Harry react?
Oh, he's a very loving husband, so I'm here. I think, what you're saying to me really also speaks to the courage that these parents that you'll have more time with, do you know what it takes for them to talk about this experience? And how brave they are to talk about this experience for other families and other parents, and to relive that grief, but to do it in such a purpose-driven way to help save other children.
Then from mental health awareness to an unlikely form of meditation. Denny Dyke has been creating designs and circuitous paths on beaches in Southern Oregon for over a decade now. And what started as a solo meditative practice has now transformed into a movement. Connor Knight followed along.
Do you have this all mapped out in your head?
No.
You're just as you go?
As I go.
Dyke isn't big on making plans. He certainly never planned for his freehand labyrinths to become a tourist attraction. He started off making these as part of his solo meditation practice.
It's a practice that I started years ago, kind of living in the now. If you're down here on the ocean with no other input, and you're walking a labyrinth, which is a single path, you don't even have to worry about what direction you're going. It just puts you in a different place.
That's all coming up right here on Here Comes the Sun. Social media has come under fire in recent years for being a negative influence on young people's mental health. The Surgeon General even issued an advisory calling the mental health crisis among youth an emergency and pointing to some digital platforms as a major factor. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, or Harry and Meghan, as they're more commonly known, have now created a network where parents who've lost children in connection with social media can gather. Here's Jane Pauley.
On a brilliant summer day near Santa Barbara, a group of friends got together. This was not your typical receiving line.
Hi!
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, better known as Harry and Meghan, are definitely big huggers. It was a meeting of an exclusive club.
Oh, it's good to meet you.
And one that none of them wanted to join. Most of the parents here have lost a child, directly or indirectly, as a result of exposure to online social media. Harry and Meghan are trying to give them, and parents like them, some place to turn for help. It's called the Parents Network, in association with the couple's charitable Archwell Foundation.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you.
Meghan herself knows a thing or two about online bullying.
And how do you do?
And of course, her husband Harry is no stranger to that either, or to unspeakable grief.
The central topic is the loss that these families have suffered. Stories that need to be shared because the parents who are listening who have not suffered a loss think that they couldn't But they could.
They certainly could. And that's, I think, one of the scariest things that we've learned over the course of the last 15, 17 years that social media's been around, and more so recently, is the fact that it could happen to absolutely anybody. I mean, we always talk about, in the olden days, if your kids were under your roof, you knew what they were up to. At least they were safe, right? And now they can be in the next door room on a tablet or on a phone and can be going down these rabbit holes, and before you know it, within 24 hours, they could be taking their life.
Our kids are young, they're 3 and 5. They're amazing. But all you want to do as parents is protect them. And so as we can see what's happening in the online space, we know that there's a lot of work to be done there, and we're just happy to be able to be a part of.
Well, you hope
Change for
that
good.
when your children ask for help, someone, is there to give it.
If you,
Not to.
if you know how to help.
Thank you.
At this point, we've got to the stage where almost every parent needs to be a first responder. And even the best first responders in the world wouldn't be able to tell the signs of possible suicide. Like that is the terrifying piece of this.
You can't tell this story to everybody. People don't understand.
It's something Donna and Chris Dolly know all too well. Their 17-year-old son, CJ, died from suicide after what they believe was depression fueled by social media use.
But your son had a demon in his bedroom.
I think so, yeah.
Yes. We had no idea what happened to our son. He had a beautiful car. He worked and did that. He had a job he liked.
Sisters
but,
that loved him, parents that
yeah.
adored him.
Yes. And he was happy. He was a happy kid.
And like so many parents in their place, the Dollys say a factor in their son's depression and death was his smartphone, a device designed to be so addictive that he couldn't put it down, not even in the minutes before he died.
He still had it in his hand, the phone. That's how addicted he was. He couldn't even kill himself without posting about it first.
And like the Dollys, it's often impossible for parents or anyone else to see that someone was so deep in despair that they'd consider taking their own life. Meghan Markle has been there, as she told Oprah Winfrey in 2021.
Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered. But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it, and I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
You had an experience that connects you to these families, and I see you touch your husband's hand in just the way I knew that you would be looking after each other if I went places. But the connection that you have with people is they know you had suffered too, personally. Contemplating killing yourself is what suicidal ideation was. And I'm dancing around this because I can see you're uncomfortable with my even going there. Do you?
I understand why you are, though. I wasn't expecting it, but I understand why you are, because there is a through line, I think. And when you've been through any level of pain or trauma, I believe part of our healing journey, certainly part of mine, is being able to be really open about it. And I haven't really scraped the surface on my experience,